We could keep on talking TA for days, but it is time to jump into the discussion about Russia. So before we discuss it, let's see, Kelly, can you go ahead and read the headlines? Let us know the details, because there are some details. It's not just as simple as Russia is going to. There are some stipulations, and then we'll discuss that as a team, what that might mean for Bitcoin and crypto.
Yes, I distinctly will.
Distinctly.
I almost said the word that I shall not say. So the Russian government and the central bank have basically agreed to treat Bitcoin as a currency. That does not mean they're making it legal tender. It means they are going to treat it as such. And in all reality, what they're doing is what our U.S. government should do in respect to how we are approaching cryptocurrency, which is seeing that this is a huge, massively utilized thing globally, and it's an opportunity for incredible profit center in terms of tax revenue. So they've already estimated with them breaking this down and going over the reports and trying to understand this, if they should or shouldn't do it, that the first year alone they could essentially make around $13 billion in taxes, and that's before they get all the structure in place and how they're going to operate it. Now, essentially, what they're going to be doing is they're not going to be taxing anything that's under or anything that's over $8,000 in value, and in their scale it has to do with rubles.
They're not going to tax anything over?
No, it's not that. No, you don't have to report anything that's under 8,000, but by law you have to report every transaction that's over $8,000 in value. So essentially, what they want to do is they want to tie in the central bank of Russia with licensing practices with other licensed institutions and exchanges, so that one, it allows you to track what's going on with your digital currencies. And this, they call it analog forms of currency. They don't want to call them digital currencies for whatever reason. But it's allowing them to essentially get the government claws, get the government, hooks into this seemingly unregulatable ecosystem in digital currencies. But at the end of the day, what they're going to be able to do is they're going to be able to, because there's regulations that are going to, and this isn't fully done yet. They still have some the lower house of parliament still has to fill in some of the gaps of all the details of some of the interregulatory things that they have to do to make this pass, but they're in agreement that they want this to be done, and it could signal big, because they're one of the major five superpowers of the world, and the fact that they're moving forward with this, it'll be very interesting to see how either the U.S. government or China. I know China's already had their wishy-washy ways about all this, but I'm curious what your thoughts are, Tim, and how this is going to spill over into the global.
Yeah, so I've discussed this a little bit with you, Kelly, this morning. Just so you guys know, it's really cool. I have the privilege of hosting Kelly while he's down here. So him and I get to go home every single night, talk about work, talk about news, also chill and just hang out. But we talked about this a little bit because this news broke last night, actually.
It was after I made you that lovely dinner.
He made some steak that was phenomenal. Anyway, I want to see what happens, because I think there's a lot of people just jumping to that. Let me back up. This is bullish. Russia is a massive country. Russia's economic state, while not the same as America or China, is still one of the largest economies in the world. So the fact that Russia is going to be at least treating crypto as a currency, it's not going to be legal tender the same way El Salvador has it, but it's going to be treatable like a currency. That's massive news that a lot of people are just going to jump on and say, guys, Bitcoin is about to skyrocket. What I want to know, and I don't know the answer to this, so I want to start by saying we don't know. But I want to see how other major countries respond. Because unless you've been under a rock recently, not a lot of countries are friends with Russia right now. We're not really happy with what's happening over there, right? Like it or not, what will some of these governments do in retaliation? Will they jump on the bandwagon with Russia and say, well, if Russia's going to make it currency, then we're going to do it too, which would be phenomenal, which would be bullish. It's a very real possibility. I think a lot of people are in that camp. But potentially, could some countries in retaliation say, oh, if Russia's touching it, because we know that the Biden administration at least said that there's going to be some talk about this here coming in the next couple of weeks due to national security. if Russia is exchanging crypto constantly, could potentially an uneducated American government on crypto worry that if America is using a lot of crypto, it could become a national security problem and move to be even more strict with how we regulate it? Now, again, there's no facts to that, but I'm saying we have to open up our minds to the potential of a very bullish move or potentially a very bearish move. And so with that, Smay or Kelly, what are your thoughts about those two potentials?
You can go ahead, Smay.
Can you
the man of the people?
So the two potentials of one, the rest of the world and the powerful governments say, you know what, if Russia's going to do it, we have to jump on so that we can stay up to date. Or do they say, oh, if Russia's touching that, we don't want to touch it with a 10-foot pole. Let's create very strict regulation.
Oh no, it's definitely option one. And I think here's the thing, guys.
Cold storage war.
Here's the thing about it. Let me just tell you this, guys. Let me tell you guys this. It's kind of like a gateway drug into being just going straight into adoption. It starts there, and you always get it's the worry signs. So I'll tell you what, guys, this is huge, bigger than what it might do to the price, right? It's getting people familiar and used to the idea of cryptocurrency as currency, right? Like, this is something that I think is so massive because the thing is, like, this is setting the example that obviously I think other countries are going to be in competition. I mean, think about the space race. Think about that. When a country starts investing in a new technology, 9 times out of 10, countries don't go, ew, we're not even going to do that. They're going to try to get all their people, their smartest minds to do it even better. And, honestly, guys, this is going to be interesting to see. Now, I think some countries are going to take this and try to make their own CBDCs or whatever and be like, oh, guys, we're getting into crypto, No, but I think there's going to definitely be a lot more countries that are going to come into this landscape, see that Russia's starting to get friendly with it. They're going to start to get friendly with it. And then Russia's going to one up them. And then somebody else is going to one up them. And then they're going to one up each other. And they're going to keep one up each other until there's kind of some big adoption happening. And so, guys, this is huge because it's not even just Bitcoin at this point. This is opening the door for more opportunities for governments to plug in DeFi and blockchain into their utilization. So I really think this is something that can be very massive, not just right now, but for the future of easing people into the idea. Because, guys, you have to remember, we're still relying on the older generation to learn the younger new technology. As the generations and the people who are more used to technology are taking over and taking into power and all this stuff, guys, it's just a matter of time. And the best way to get that transfer to happen and get ourselves set up right is getting the current system familiar, at least just familiar. And then when the next generation comes in, the next generation is going to be the ones to bring in the adoption.
And to be clear, it's not like they're absolutely the first to do this. I mean, here in the U.S., for instance, we haven't declared it as a currency, but currently the U.S. government is, taxing crypto, based on, whether you're short-term games or long-term games. But the biggest hurdle here in the U.S. is that there's so much ignorance. I mean, absolute ignorance within our government around it, and they're contending whether or not it should be regulated, whether it should be stopped, whether it should be shut down, whether it should be supported, and that in itself sort of breeds discontent and kind of slows down the adoption in terms of just the mass populace. But the race that's happening here is a race to the best framework for the best regulatory framework to make money as a government while also supporting technology and development and growth.
Yeah, so I'm going to wrap this up, and then we're going to move on to our Q&A because I know that you guys have a lot to say about this as well. There's first of all, let's wait for February 18th. Let's wait for February 18th and actually find out what Russia is doing. Again, I said that before. I'll say it again. Sometimes we jump to conclusions before knowing details, and that's not a good thing to do. Secondly, I agree with you, Smay, that I do think that it's going to cause other governments to get more involved in crypto. What I'm more wanting to find out the details of is the language was pretty unclear. It says that it didn't say Bitcoin, it didn't say Ethereum, it said crypto as currency. Governments could look at this and say, yes, we need to up our CBDC. They're looking at stories like what just happened with recovering that Bitfinex hack, and they're realizing, just like I said, the government's going to realize, wow, if if people are doing things through crypto, it's actually pretty easy to track them if they're doing something illegal. But what's going to happen is they're going to look at the success rate right now of stable coins. It's going to incentivize them to create those CBDCs. It's going to incentivize them to create regulation that makes it very difficult for other cryptos, and it funnels everything to those CBDCs because they still want the US dollar or the British pound or the Chinese yuan. They still want those to have authority and power, but they know they can utilize them through CBDCs. I'm not saying that's final. What I was opening up is, hey, I really do hope, and I think there's a good chance that this will be a massively bullish news for Bitcoin, for Ethereum, for Cardano, for all of crypto. However, I'm not going to close my eye or look away from the potential of this becoming, we already don't like regulation, but we know it's coming. Could it become even stricter and more invasive regulation that ends up making Bitcoin and Ethereum and Cardano a little bit harder to actually grow? That's something we have to continue to analyze and look at the details as they come out. I really, I don't like trying to rain on parades. What I hate more, though, than raining on parades is people being way, way, way too bullish and then writing us emails talking about how they lost thousands, if not millions of dollars. It breaks my heart. I've literally had conversations with Jebb before where Jebb started crying, reading emails we get from people telling us about being wrecked in cryptocurrency because they jumped on a train way too early. Guys, if we could do nothing else, it is to help you prevent that. You will make money in crypto, but do it wisely.
Hey, you made it to the end of the video. If you enjoyed this video, you should definitely consider subscribing because we're trying to help you become financially free in these cryptocurrency markets. And also, consider following us on Twitter @CryptoJebb for more updates on the price of Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies. Peace.